What if I told you that right now, today, December 2025, we are living through the slow motion collapse of everything we once called normal, and most people are too exhausted, too distracted, or too terrified to admit it? What if everything you're feeling, the rage when you look at your bank account, the dread when you walk through a grocery store, the emptiness when you scroll social media and see how openly people hate each other, isn't just in your head, but is actually the designed outcome of decades of deliberate policy, cultural decay, and financial predation? And what if I prove to you over the next hour or so that the only sane response left for a man who still has a pulse and a spine is to quietly, calmly, and ruthlessly walk away from the entire burning circus before it takes you down with it? Stay until the very end because I'm going to show you exactly how millions of us are already doing it and how you can start today without asking permission from anyone. If you want more unfiltered, no agenda, straight fire, angry guy content like this, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who still has a functioning brain, and hit subscribe so you never miss any of these wake up calls. And while you're down there, go click the link in the description and check out Angry's Crypto Academy. That's where I teach regular guys, no fancy degree required, how to actually buy, sell, trade, and most importantly, protect their crypto and their wealth in a world that wants to take everything from you. The full academy is linked below. Go enroll right now. It could literally save your financial future. And hey, if you're enjoying these videos and you want to keep the angry guy caffeinated and making more of them, there's a link down there to buy me a Red Bull. Every can keeps the rage flowing and the truth coming. I appreciate every single one of you legends who throw a Red Bull my way. Now let's get into it. It feels like the end of the world. I'm not saying that for clicks. I'm not saying it because I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm saying it because when you step back and look at the data, the patterns, the deliberate policies, and the cultural rot happening in real time, that is the only rational conclusion left. Inflation is not just high, it is historically obscene. The official numbers they feed you on television are a sick joke. When you factor in the real cost of food, rent, fuel, insurance, and utilities, the average person's purchasing power has been absolutely gutted over the last 5 years. People are working longer hours for less real money than their parents ever did, and still they cannot afford the basics. A carton of eggs in some cities is $12. Ground beef is pushing $10 pound. Rent for one bedroom apartment in any major metro has doubled since 2019, while wages have barely budged. This is not bad luck. This is not a temporary blip. This is engineered theft through currency debasement, and it is happening on purpose. And it's deeper than just money. There is deliberate, coordinated push right now to make you own nothing and be perfectly miserable about it. They don't even hide it anymore. World leaders, central bankers, and corporate think tanks openly talk about the future where you will own nothing and you will be happy. They phrase it as sustainability or equity, but strip away the marketing, and what they are really describing is modern feudalism. You will rent your clothes, your furniture, your appliances, even your identity from mega corporations and the state. Your car will be subscription based. Your home will be leased from BlackRock or Vanguard. Your digital ID will determine whether you are allowed to travel, buy food, or post online. And if you step out of line, if you question the narrative too loudly, they simply turn your life off like light switch. No trial, no appeal, just darkness. That's why life being made so difficult, so expensive, so soul crushing that most people are too tired to fight back. They come home from working two jobs, barely able to pay rent, scroll TikTok for 3 hours to numb the pain, collapse into bed, and repeat. They have no energy left to read primary sources, to question authority, to organize, or to resist. That exhaustion is not an accident, it is the plan. Tired, broke, addicted population is compliant population, and the architects of this system know it. Look at what they've done to language itself. Mothers are now birthing persons. Fathers are basically optional. The state positions itself as the ultimate parent, the ultimate authority, the ultimate provider. Schools teach children that their parents are potential abusers who need to be reported if they don't affirm every passing whim. Loyalty to family is being replaced with loyalty to the regime. And if you think I'm exaggerating, go look at the curriculum in California, New York, Canada, the UK. It's all there in plain text. Meanwhile, basic human courtesy has evaporated. People scream at each other in public over nothing. Road rage is now just Tuesday. Customer service employees act like you're inconveniencing them by daring to exist. And don't get me started on dating and relationships. We've reached point where large percentages of women openly say on video with their full face and name that men are trash, that they hate men, that men only exist to provide money and then disappear. TikTok is flooded with videos of women celebrating that they make six figures and still expect man to pay for everything, while simultaneously calling all men broke and worthless. And then they wonder why birth rates are collapsing, and millions of men have simply checked out. You think I'm joking? Look at the data. Marriage rates are at all-time lows. Birth rates in every developed country are below replacement level and falling off cliff. In South Korea, it's 0.72 children per woman. Japan is 1.26. Italy, Spain, the United States, all hovering right around 1.6 or lower. Civilizations do not survive those numbers. They die, slowly at first, then all at once. And the response from the system: punish men harder, tax them harder, shame them harder, call them toxic for having boundaries, create legal and cultural environments where man can lose everything: his money, his children, his reputation, his freedom, simply because woman makes an accusation with zero evidence. We watched it happen in real time with Johnny Depp, and even after he won, the message was clear. The system is not your friend. It is weapon. That's why millions of us have walked away. Not out of weakness, not because we hate women, not because we're losers who can't get date. We walked away because we finally did the math and realized the game is rigged beyond repair. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze. The risk is infinite. The reward is non-existent. And the culture openly despises everything natural about being man. So we left. We went our own way. And in doing so, we discovered something they never expected: peace. But walking away isn't just ghosting dating apps. That's the easy part. Real walking away is decentralizing every aspect of your life so that no government, no corporation, no angry mob can take what's yours. And that's what the rest of this video is about. First, your money. If your wealth is still sitting in bank account earning 0.01% interest, while inflation eats 15 to 20% of your purchasing power every year, you are being robbed in broad daylight. The dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created. That is not conspiracy, that is documented fact. Every time they print trillions for wars, bailouts, or stimulus, you pay the bill through higher prices. The only way to opt out of that theft is to move portion of your wealth into assets that cannot be inflated away: gold, silver, and yes, Bitcoin and certain cryptocurrencies. Now, I know some of you are rolling your eyes at crypto because you got burned in 2022, or you think it's all scam. I'm not telling you to YOLO your life savings into meme coins. I'm telling you to educate yourself, take custody of your own keys, and move small but growing percentage of your wealth into scarce, decentralized assets. That's why I built Angry's Crypto Academy, so you don't have to learn the hard way like I did. We teach cold storage, seed phrase security, how to buy without KYC when possible, how to use privacy tools, and how to build portfolio that survives bear markets and government crackdowns. Link below. Go sign up. Next, your business and income. If you still trade your time for paycheck from corporation that can fire you the second you say the wrong thing online, hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. You are not free. You are sharecropper with better marketing. The moment you build business, you control, especially online business. Everything changes. You set the rules, you keep the profit. You can operate from anywhere. You can register an LLC in privacy-friendly state or even offshore if you want. You can sell digital products, coaching, software, e-commerce, whatever aligns with your skills. And when your income comes from customers all over the world paying you in crypto or through platforms the banks can't easily shut down, suddenly HR Karen and the DEI department lose their power over you. Your tech stack. If you're still running Windows or Mac OS, you are volunteering to be spied on 24/7. Microsoft openly admitted they are building recall feature that takes screenshots of everything you do. Apple scans your photos for wrongthink. Both companies have backdoors for government. The answer is Linux. Specifically, privacy focused distribution like Linux Mint, Pop, Sash OS, or even something harder like Cubes if you want maximum security. It's free, it runs on old hardware, and once you get past the first week of learning curve, you'll never go back. Same with your phone. iOS and stock Android are surveillance devices with flashlight. Install Graphene OS on Pixel phone, lock down every permission, and suddenly your pocket computer stops ratting you out to Google, the NSA, and every data broker on earth. Your location. If you still live in major city, you are choosing to pay premium to be surrounded by chaos, crime, and insane housing costs. Every major Western city is turning into third world hellhole in real time. San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, London, Paris, you name it. If you have the ability to move to smaller town, rural area, or even another country, do it. Cost of living drops, quality of life explodes, and you're no longer surrounded by people who hate you for existing. And your supply lines, grocery stores have 3 days of food on average. 3 days. If trucks stop rolling because of fuel costs, cyber attacks, or supply chain collapse, shelves go empty fast. Start building relationships with local farmers, ranchers, and growers now. Buy half cow, whole pig, bulk rice, canned goods, whatever you can store. Learn to garden, even if it's just containers on balcony. Get water filtration that doesn't rely on city supply. Get solar panels, even small foldable ones you can hang in a window, and decent power banks. When the grid goes down, and it will either by accident or on purpose, you want to be the guy who still has lights, phone charge, and full pantry while everyone else is losing their minds. Your health. Big Pharma wants you sick, dependent, and subscribed to 12 different medications by age 50. Start learning basic herbalism, natural remedies, fasting protocols, strength training with body weight, or cheap home gym. Build resilience now so when the pharmacies are empty or the prices are $900 per pill, you're not at their mercy. And finally, your mind. The most powerful thing they've stolen from us is our ability to think clearly. They flood us with fear, rage bait, division, and dopamine hits, and nonstop propaganda until we can't tell truth from fiction. The antidote is radical simplicity. Cut your screen time in half. Read books again, real books, not summaries. Spend time alone in nature. Learn to be bored. Learn to sit with your own thoughts without numbing them. That's where real strength comes from. This is what walking away actually looks like in practice. It's not running away, it's strategic withdrawal from system that wants you broke, dependent, and ashamed of being man. It's building parallel life where you control your money, your data, your time, your food, your energy, and your peace of mind. And the best part, they can't stop you. They can scream, they can shame, they can pass all the laws they want. But every day, millions more men are quietly opting out, building wealth outside the system, and rediscovering what it actually feels like to be free. So I want to know what I think about all of this. I think we're winning. Slowly, quietly, but we are winning. Every guy who moves his money into Bitcoin, every guy who deletes his dating apps, every guy who starts his own business, every guy who lifts weights in his garage and learns to grow his own food, he's another soldier walking away, and the system feels it. They feel the birth rates collapsing, they feel the tax base shrinking, they feel the desperation growing, and they are terrified. That's why they're rushing digital ID, CBDCS, carbon tracking, and speech laws. They know the clock is ticking. But here's the thing, we don't need to fight them in the streets. We just need to keep walking it. The system is panicking because for the first time in modern history, men are not begging for scraps at the table. We're building our own tables. We're walking out of the restaurant entirely and starting farms in the backyard while they scream about climate change and try to ban meat. That's the part they never saw coming. They spent decades telling men they were unnecessary, toxic, obsolete, that the future was female, that we should just sit down, shut up, pay the bills, and and applaud and disappear. And millions of us looked at each other, shrugged, and said, "Cool, message received. We're out." And now the birth rate charts look like a heart monitor flatlining. The marriage industry is in free fall. The military can't hit recruiting numbers even when they lower standards to the floor. Universities are becoming ghost towns of men. And entire economies that depended on male labor, male taxes, and male consumption are starting to wobble. They called our bluff, but we weren't bluffing. We actually left. And the silence is deafening. You can feel the desperation in every new policy. Suddenly, men are needed again. Suddenly, we're supposed to step up and be better and fix masculinity and go die in whatever war they're gearing up for next. Suddenly, trad wife content is being algorithm boosted everywhere, as if a few viral videos of women baking bread in $3,000 dresses is going to undo 30 years of institutionalized contempt. It's almost comical if it weren't so tragic. They broke the social contract, salted the earth, and now they're shocked that nothing grows there anymore. But here's the beautiful part. The moment you walk away, the moment you stop feeding the beast, you realize how much of your life was spent keeping a dying machine running for people who hated you. You get your time back, you get your energy back, you get your peace back, you start sleeping 8 hours a night without pharmaceutical help. Your testosterone climbs, your bank account grows, your stress levels drop, your circle gets smaller but infinitely higher quality. You stop arguing with strangers on the internet because you finally understand they were never the target. The target was always your attention and your life force. I want you to really let this sink in. Every minute you spend doom scrolling, every hour you spend simping for attention that will never come, every dollar you spend on OnlyFans or dating apps or overpriced drinks to impress people who don't care if you live or die. That is a minute, an hour, a dollar you are voluntarily handing to the same system that wants you enslaved. Walking away is not just philosophy, it is literal energy reallocation. You take the fuel they were burning to power their machine and you use it to power your own life instead. Let me tell you a quick story so this doesn't stay abstract. About 4 years ago, I knew a guy named Chris, regular dude, mid 30s, engineer, decent salary, lived in Seattle, had a girlfriend who made twice what he made and never let him forget it. Every day he came home to lectures about privilege, about emotional labor, about how his mere existence as straight white man was violence. He paid for everything. He did all the chores. He went to therapy to work on himself. He took SSRIs because the anxiety was crushing him. He was a good boy. He followed the script perfectly. Then 2021 hit. Rent went up 60%. Groceries doubled. His girlfriend informed him that monogamy was a tool of the patriarchy and she was opening the relationship, but he was not. He snapped. Not violently, quietly. He just stopped arguing, stopped apologizing, stopped paying for her lifestyle. He gave notice at his job, sold everything that didn't fit in his truck, moved 6 hours east to small town in Idaho, bought 5 acres cash with the savings he had been bleeding into her lifestyle, put a modular home on it, installed solar, dug well, and went full ghost. Last time I talked to him, he was 42 years old, 35 pounds lighter, off all medications, deadlifting 500 pounds, debt free, running remote consulting business that makes double his old salary with half the hours. And he hasn't been on dating app or been inside bar in 3 years. He grows 70% of his own food, has chickens, has freezer full of elk he hunted himself, and says the only thing he misses about city is good Thai food. He told me, verbatim, I didn't realize how much noise was in my life until removed it. Now hear birds in the morning and my own thoughts at night. That's worth more than any woman, any job, any status ever was. That is one story. There are millions like it now. Quiet, under the radar. No manifestos, no protests. Just men waking up, looking around, realizing the house is on fire, and calmly walking out the back door before the roof collapses. The media calls it incel phenomenon, or mental health crisis, or toxic masculinity backlash. They will call it anything except what it actually is: the largest coordinated act of civil disobedience in modern history. And the best part, they have no tools to stop it. You can't shame man who doesn't care about your approval. You can't tax man who moved his wealth to assets you can't inflate or seize. You can't draft man who lives 45 minutes down gravel road with a year of food and his own well. You can't cancel man who isn't on your platforms and doesn't need your HR department. You can't guilt man who already knows he's disposable and decided to act accordingly. This is why they're rushing every control mechanism at once: digital ID, CBDCs, carbon passports, vaccine mandates that never really went away, UBI that comes with social credit strings, 15-minute cities sold as convenience but designed as open air prisons. They know the cattle are jumping the fence, so they're electrifying it while they still can. That's why your timeline right now matters more than any time in your entire life. Every day you stay plugged into the matrix is day you are funding your own cage. Every day you spend learning skills, stacking sats, building parallel systems, hardening your body and your mind is day you are voting with your life for a different future. Let me break down exactly what your personal walkaway roadmap looks like in 2025. Step by step, no fluff, no gatekeeping. Step one, secure your wealth outside the banking system. Minimum 5 to 10% of your net worth in physical gold and silver you hold in your possession or in allocated private vault, not paper ETF nonsense. Another 10 to 25% in Bitcoin, self custodied, not on exchange. If you don't hold the keys, you don't own it. Cold card, Trezor, or seed plates etched in steel. 12-word or 24-word phrase written down, never typed, never photographed, stored in multiple geographic locations. This is not gambling. This is insurance against the dollar dying, which it is doing in slow motion right in front of us. Step two, create at least one income stream that no single employer can kill. Online business is the cheat code. Digital products, coaching, consulting, software, newsletter with paid tier, faceless YouTube channel, print on demand, Amazon KDP, whatever matches your skills. The barrier to entry has never been lower. You can launch something in weekend that makes you $3,000 to $10,000 a month within 6 to 12 months if you actually work instead of doom scroll. And once it's running, it runs without you being physically present or asking permission. Step three, kill your debt. All of it. Credit cards first, then car, then student loans, then mortgage if you can. Debt is modern slavery with better branding. Every dollar of interest you pay is dollar you are forced to earn inside their system on their terms. When you owe nothing, your options explode. Step four, get your data and communications off their platforms. Proton Mail or self-hosted email. Signal or Session for messaging, VPS with your own Nextcloud for storage, Mastodon or Nostr if you still want social media, but only after you've built the rest of your life. The goal is to become ungovernable online without becoming hermit. Step 5, physical resilience. 3 months of food that doesn't need refrigeration, 1,000 gallons of water storage or filtration capable of making river water drinkable, backup heat that doesn't need the grid, basic trauma kit and the training to use it. Firearms, if legal where you are and you're willing to train seriously, because the police have no duty to protect you and response times are now measured in when we feel like it. Step 6, community but the right kind. 10 real friends who would help you move body beats, 10,000 followers who send praying hands emojis. Start with men's groups, jujitsu gyms, churches if that's your thing, shooting ranges, local farmers markets, volunteer fire departments. Real community is built in person, in the mud, under barbells, around campfires, not in comment sections. When you have those 6 pillars in place, something magical happens. The news stops mattering. Elections stop mattering. Culture war nonsense stops mattering. You watch the circus from the cheap seats with popcorn because none of it can touch you anymore. You become anti fragile. The worse the system gets, the stronger you get because every collapse is an arbitrage opportunity for man who prepared. And yes, it's lonely sometimes. Yes, you'll have nights where you wonder if you're crazy. Yes, your mom will cry and ask when you're going to settle down and give her grandchildren. Yes, former friends will call you paranoid or bitter. Let them. Their opinions only have the weight you give them. And once you see how free you actually are, you'll laugh at how small that world used to feel. This is the new masculinity they're terrified of. Not the loud, not violent, not political, just sovereign, competent, quietly unstoppable. The kind of man who doesn't need to scream because his life speaks for him. The kind of man who can lose everything tomorrow and rebuild in 6 months because he already did it once on purpose. We are not waiting for society to fix itself. We are not asking permission to live differently. We are not negotiating with people who want us domesticated or dead. We are simply walking away, building something better, and letting the old world collapse under its own contradictions. And when enough of us do that, something even bigger happens. The system loses legitimacy. It loses workers. It loses taxpayers. It loses soldiers. It loses consumers. It loses the very energy it needs to keep running. And one day, sooner than they think, it just stops. That's the end game. Not revolution with rifles, revolution with relocation, revolution with wallets, revolution with silence. So if you have choice right now today, you can keep scrolling, keep coping, keep hoping someone else fixes this. Or you can become the man your grandfather would have respected, the man your future son would be proud of, the man who looked at burning world and said, "Not my circus, not my monkeys," and built fortress in the ashes. The clock is ticking. The doors are still open, but they won't be forever. The most dangerous lie they ever sold you was that you need them more than they need you. That's the core deception that keeps the whole machine spinning. They told you that without their universities, you'll be uneducated. Without their corporations, you'll be unemployed. Without their banks, you'll be broke. Without their dating market, you'll die alone. Without their government, you'll descend into chaos. Without their entertainment, you'll be bored. Without their pharmaceuticals, you'll be sick. Without their grocery chains, you'll starve. Every single one of those statements is provably false. Yet billions of people still organize their entire lives around avoiding those imagined horrors. The moment you test even one of those lies in real life, the entire house of cards starts to wobble. That's why the system reacts with such disproportionate rage when men simply stop participating. When a critical mass of men refuse to go into debt for college degrees that no longer guarantee jobs, the universities panic and start lowering standards and inventing new genders to fill seats. When men refuse to enlist, the military starts recruiting illegal immigrants and talking about mandatory national service. When men refuse to marry, the government starts floating taxes on single people and subsidies for single mothers. When men move their money into Bitcoin, central banks rush CBDCs and threaten to make self custody illegal. Every single time, the reaction tells you exactly where the real power has always been. You were never the weak link. You were the load bearing pillar they painted to look decorative. Let me paint you another picture because stories stick better than statistics. I want you to meet Marcus, 38 years old, former Marine, did 3 tours in Afghanistan, came home missing half his left calf, and carrying the kind of memories that don't fit in polite conversation. Got out in 2015, used his VA loan to buy a small house in the Virginia suburbs, got a government contractor job making low six figures, married his high school sweetheart, had 2 kids. Life was supposed to be the reward, right? Wrong. Within 5 years, the marriage turned into slow motion hostage situation. She gained 80 pounds, stopped working, spent her days on Instagram comparing their life to influencers, started accusing him of being emotionally abusive because he didn't want to talk about his feelings at 11 p.m. after 12-hour shifts. The kids were being taught in school that men like their father were the root of all evil. He was paying 68% of his take home pay toward mortgage, private school because public was no longer an option, health insurance, and her credit card debt. He was on 3 different blood pressure medications at age 35. One night he woke up at 3 a.m. convinced he was having heart attack. Turned out to be panic attack. Doctor wanted to prescribe SSRIs. Marcus looked in the mirror and realized he had survived Taliban ambushes just to come home and die early for women who despised him and system that used him like toilet paper. So he did what most people would call insane. He filed for divorce first, even though the laws were stacked against him, sold the house at peak 2021 prices, took his half in cash, paid the brutal tax hit, and walked away with about $380,000 after everything. Told his ex she could have full custody if she didn't ask for child support. She took the deal because she wanted him gone more than she wanted the money. He kissed his kids goodbye, promised he'd always be there if they ever needed him, and moved to small town in northwest Arkansas with nothing but his truck, his dog, and duffel bag. Within 18 months, he had bought 20 acres for $68,000 cash, put used double wide on it, drilled well, installed 15 kilowatt solar array with battery backup, built workshop, and started custom knife making business that now clears $180,000 year after expenses, all under the table or in crypto. He hasn't taken single prescription pill in 3 years. Blood pressure is 118 over 72. Sleeps like baby. Hunts deer on his own land. Has group of 10 other guys within 20-minute drive who would show up with rifles if anyone ever threatened his family. Dates when he feels like it. Never cohabitates. Never apologizes for existing. Says the only thing he regrets is not doing it 10 years earlier. His ex messages him every few months asking if he's done with his midlife crisis yet. He just laughs and goes back to forging $800 chef knives for customers in Singapore who pay in Bitcoin. That story is not rare anymore. It's becoming the new normal among men who still have functioning survival instinct. And here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The reason the system is collapsing faster than even the doomers predicted is because the withdrawal of male cooperation is compounding catastrophe they spent decades creating. They removed every incentive for men to participate, then acted shocked when men stopped participating. They destroyed the family courts, so men stopped marrying. They destroyed the universities, so men stopped attending. They destroyed the culture, so men stopped consuming. They destroyed the currency, so men started hoarding gold and crypto. They destroyed trust, so men stopped believing anything the media says. Every single action they took to empower one group or punish another simply accelerated the withdrawal of the one resource civilization actually cannot function without: competent, motivated male energy directed toward building and protecting. Now they're left with societies full of anxious, medicated, debt laden consumers who produce nothing, reproduce less than nothing, and spend their days arguing about pronouns while the infrastructure crumbles and the borders dissolve. Meanwhile, the men who walked away are quietly thriving in the countryside, in small towns, in expat communities, in parallel economies, living better than any generation before them with fraction of the stress. That's the part that keeps the elites awake at night. They didn't just lose control of the narrative, they lost control of the men who actually make the world run. The truck drivers, the linemen, the farmers, the coders, the welders, the plumbers, the entrepreneurs, all quietly, without announcement, they're reallocating their labor, their capital, and their attention to systems that don't hate them. And there is no law, no policy, no amount of shaming that can force man to work 80 hours a week for people who want him dead. This is bigger than dating. This is bigger than politics. This is the largest transfer of human capital in recorded history. And it's happening in real time, right under their noses. And they are powerless to stop it because the mechanism of control they relied on, male thirst, male shame, male sense of duty, has been completely broken beyond repair. You can see the panic in every desperate move they make now. They're trying to import replacement populations who still believe in the old social contract, but those populations figure out the scam within one generation and either join the walkaway movement or become net drain. They're trying to automate everything, but robots still can't fix power lines in ice storm or grow food when the fertilizer supply chain collapses. They're trying to scare men back into the plantation with talk of war, but men who have nothing left to lose are surprisingly difficult to scare. And the harder they squeeze, the more men slip through their fingers. I want you to understand something that took me years to fully grasp. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of alternatives. The reason so many men are finding peace for the first time in their lives is because they finally built alternatives to the machine that was grinding them into dust. They have alternative money, alternative food supplies, alternative social circles, alternative sources of meaning, alternative ways to meet women or to not meet women at all if that's what they choose. Once you have viable alternatives, the threats lose their power. Do what we say, or you'll lose your job, stops working when your job is something you built yourself and can't be taken away. Do what we say, or you'll die alone. Stops working when you actually enjoy your own company and have brothers who would die for you. Do what we say, or we'll ruin your reputation. Stops working when you no longer participate in systems that control reputations. That's real freedom. Not the bumper sticker kind. The kind where you can look any authority figure in the eye and feel nothing, no fear, no anger, just calm recognition that their power over you died the day you stopped needing anything from them. We are watching the death of one paradigm and the birth of another, and the transition is going to be ugly. There will be blackouts. There will be empty shelves. There will be currency crises. There will be desperate attempts to draft men into wars nobody believes in. There will be more crime, more addiction, more loneliness, more rage. But on the other side of that chaos is a world where men are no longer punished for being men, where competence is rewarded instead of criminalized, where privacy actually exists, where real community is possible again. And the men who walk away now, the men who prepare now, the men who build now, those are the ones who will inherit that world. Not because they fought for it in the streets, but because they refused to die for the old one. And so if you're still sitting there wondering whether it's time to make move, let me make it simple for you. Every day you delay is day you voluntarily stay on sinking ship handing out deck chairs. Every day you act is day you get closer to life where the news is just background noise and your biggest problem is deciding which project to tackle next. Start small if you have to. Delete the dating apps tonight. Move $500 into Bitcoin this week. Spend one weekend learning Linux. Buy one Silver Eagle. Drive to the nearest small town 2 hours away and see how much house your money actually buys there. Lift weights tomorrow morning. Cook meal from Whole Foods instead of ordering delivery. One brick day. The wall builds itself. Because here's the final truth they will never say on television. The future does not belong to the angry. It does not belong to the loud. It does not belong to the compliant. The future belongs to the men who quietly, relentlessly, and without apology build systems that make the old world obsolete. Be one of those men. The system's final weapon against you is nostalgia. That's the one they're loading into the chamber right now. They know shame doesn't work anymore. Fear is wearing off. Guilt lost its sting the day men realized nobody was coming to save them. So they're switching to the heavy artillery, weaponized memory. They're going to flood the culture with 80s and 90s throwbacks, wholesome family commercials, pictures of full Thanksgiving tables, ads with dads teaching sons to fish, beer commercials where men still laugh together without someone screaming about toxic masculinity. They're going to crank up the Bruce Springsteen and tell you that all you have to do is come back, just get that office job, just get the mortgage, just find a nice girl who will let you pay for everything in exchange for conditional affection. Just be a good boy again, and everything will feel like it used to. Don't fall for it. And that world is gone. It didn't die of natural causes. It was murdered in broad daylight by the same institutions now selling you the highlight reel. The schools that taught your kids to hate you killed it. The courts that can take your children and your money on her word alone killed it. The HR departments that fire you for a decade-old joke killed it. The central banks that inflated away 3 generations of savings killed it. The media that spent 30 years telling women they don't need men and men they're the problem killed it. They ring the dinner bell now and act like the house is still standing, but the foundation is gone, the walls are cracked, and the roof is on fire. All that's left is a Hollywood set dressed up to look like home. Walking away means refusing to live in a museum of someone else's childhood. It means accepting that the past is a nice place to visit in your memories, but a terrible place to build your future. The men who thrive in the next 20 years will be the ones who stop trying to resurrect 1995 and instead build 2035 on their own terms. And the beautiful irony is that the skills you need to survive and dominate in the coming world are the exact same skills your grandfather had before everything got soft and complicated. Grow food, fix engines, shoot straight, build shelter, store wealth in things that don't need permission. Tell the truth even when it costs you. Keep your word even when nobody's watching. Protect the people you love without asking for applause. That's it. Everything else is noise. Let me tell you about a quiet revolution that almost nobody is covering because it doesn't generate rage clicks. In the last 5 years, land ownership by men under 45 has quietly exploded in certain parts of the United States, Eastern Europe, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Not billionaires, not corporations, regular guys, many of them former city dwellers who used to think roughing it was staying in a hotel without room service. They're buying 5, 10, 20, 50 acres for cash, often sight unseen, off county tax auctions or distressed sales, putting tiny homes, yurts, shipping containers, or just tents on them while they build slowly with their own hands. They're drilling wells, planting orchards, raising livestock, installing off grid solar, and forming loose networks of like modern day pioneer circuits. The media calls them preppers or doomers. The truth is, they're the sanest people on the continent right now. They saw the cities turning into open air prisons with $4,000 studio apartments and decided to opt out while real estate was still affordable. They watched supply chains fracture in 2020 to 2021 and said never again. They watched the currency debasement and said, I'm not playing that game. And now they wake up to roosters instead of sirens, drink water that doesn't have fluoride and birth control hormones in it, and pay zero rent or mortgage because the land is paid off and taxes on 20 acres in rural Missouri are less than 1 month's rent in Austin. I personally know a former software developer from Portland who sold his overpriced condo in 2022, took the $720,000 proceeds, bought 140 acres in the Ozarks for $210,000 cash, paid another $80,000 to put in solar, well, septic and gravel road, and still had $400,000 left, which he split between Bitcoin and physical silver. He now writes code 4 hours a day for clients who pay him in crypto, spends the rest of his time hunting, fishing, forging tools, and teaching other remote workers how to do the same. He told me the funniest part is that his old coworkers still think he gave up and went to live in the woods like some kind of failure. Meanwhile, he cleared $340,000 last year, working less than 20 hours a week, hasn't paid income tax since he left Oregon, and can disappear for 2 weeks without anyone on earth knowing where he is. That's not giving up. That's winning so hard the scoreboard broke. And this pattern is repeating itself from Idaho to Tennessee to Uruguay to Chiang Mai to rural Portugal. Men are voting with their feet, their wallets, and their reproductive choices. They're building parallel societies, not because they hate people, but because they refuse to hate themselves. They're creating pockets of sanity in an increasingly insane world. And every year, those pockets get stronger, richer, healthier, and happier, while the blue cities get more expensive, more dangerous, more medicated, and more lonely. You can feel the cultural shift even in the language. 10 years ago, if you said you were moving to the country to grow your own food, people called you a hippie or a survivalist nut. Today, the same people are secretly asking you how to do it because their $6,500 month mortgage in California isn't fun anymore when eggs are $15 and the power goes out every time the wind blows. The pendulum isn't swinging back. The pendulum was smashed to pieces. What's happening now is the creation of entirely new weights, new axes, new directions. And the men who understand this aren't waiting for society to approve. They're already living the future while everyone else argues about the past. Here's a hard truth most gurus won't tell you because it doesn't sell courses. You don't need another 18-month mastermind or another $3,000 weekend retreat to find your purpose. You need to get unforgivably competent at a small handful of things that cannot be outsourced, automated, or taken away. Learn to code or weld or grow food or fix diesel engines or trade crypto profitably or build solar systems or raise animals or distill water or defend yourself. Pick two or three, go deep, and suddenly you become recession proof, cancel proof, inflation proof, and government proof. Competence is the ultimate cheat code. Everything else is commentary. And once you have real skills, the money follows almost accidentally. I've watched former bartenders become six-figure solar installers in 12 months. Former gamers become professional penetration testers making $300 an hour. Former warehouse workers become cattle ranchers clearing $200,000 a year because grocery store beef hit $20 a pound and people started paying premium for local grass-fed. The market always rewards people who can actually do hard things when everything is falling apart. That's the part they're trying to hide from you in schools now. They don't teach shop class anymore. They don't teach home economics. They don't teach personal finance or basic mechanics or how to read a balance sheet because a population that can't change its own oil or grow a tomato is a population that will always need the system. A population that can do those things becomes dangerous very quickly. So your rebellion doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be relentless. Every vegetable you grow is vote against Monsanto. Every Bitcoin you stack is vote against the Federal Reserve. Every barbell plate you add is vote against Big Pharma. Every book you read instead of scrolling is vote against the attention merchants. Every real friendship you cultivate is vote against the surveillance state. Every child you choose not to have in a world that hates him is vote against the machine that wanted to use him as cannon fodder or tax cattle. This is how empires actually die. Not with mushroom cloud or civil war. They die when the people who keep them running simply stop showing up. And we're already there. The military is missing recruiting goals by 25 to 40% every year. Police departments in major cities can't fill shifts. Trade schools are overflowing while gender studies departments are laying off professors. Young men are not just refusing to marry, they're refusing to date, refusing to cohabitate, refusing to even sleep with women who display contempt, and the data shows it. Porn usage is down among men under 30 for the first time ever. Video game revenue is flattening. Alcohol consumption is dropping. The dopamine casinos are losing their grip because men finally realized the house always wins unless you stop playing. Even the simps are waking up. Even the guys who used to spend $500 a month on OnlyFans girls are closing their wallets and hitting the gym instead. The entire parasitical economy that was built on male desperation is starting to starve. And the screaming you hear online is coming from people who just realized their business model was exploit male loneliness and the product walked away. That's power. Quiet, boring, unstoppable power. So when someone asks you why you're giving up on society, smile and tell them you're not giving up. You're graduating, you're moving on to something better because you finally outgrew the need to be needed by people who never needed you for anything except your labor and your compliance. The age of begging for scraps is over. The age of building empires in the ruins has begun. And the best part, you don't have to wait for collapse. You can start living the post collapse life today. The food tastes better when you grew it. The sleep is deeper when you earned it. The money hits different when nobody can freeze your account. The silence is sweeter when it's on your land with your dogs and your books and your peace that nobody can tax or regulate or shame away. That's the secret they will never put on a billboard. Freedom isn't coming someday. Freedom is a decision you make this afternoon when you close the apps, open the spreadsheet, buy the plane ticket, file the LLC, delete the dating profile, order the seeds, book the land survey, send the cold wallet seed to the safe deposit box, or simply stop participating in your own destruction. So every second you wait is second you're still renting your life from people who hate you. Take it back, take it all back. The collapse isn't coming and it's already here, and it's wearing the mask of normal. It's the quiet desperation in your coworker's eyes when he talks about how he'll never retire. It's the mother of three in the grocery line putting back meat because the total hit $280 and her card declined. It's the 29-year-old man with a master's degree delivering for DoorDash at 11 p.m. because rent is due and his career pays $19 an hour before taxes. It's the suicide rate for men aged 25 to 54 that has quietly tripled since the 1970s while nobody in power dares mention it. It's the fact that the average American man now has a negative net worth by age 35, and the average woman is only slightly behind. This isn't a recession. This is the new baseline, and they plan to keep lowering the floor until you accept cages as apartments, bugs as food, surveillance as safety, and renting your toothbrush as sustainable. And the only reason it still feels vaguely tolerable is because the pain has been drip fed over decades at a time. The frog is almost fully boiled. He just hasn't realized he's dinner yet. But you already feel the heat. That's why you're here. That's why you stayed this long into the video. You're not crazy. You're not negative. You're not giving up on hope. You're awake in a burning building while everyone else argues about the paint color on the walls. And waking up is the first real advantage you've had in your entire adult life. So let's talk about the next 5 years with brutal honesty, because sugarcoating is what got us here. 2026 to 2030 is going to be the great sorting. Cities that were playgrounds for the laptop class in 2019 will become open air refugee camps for the formerly middle class by 2028. Rents will not come down. Wages will not catch up. Insurance will become mathematically impossible for the average person. Power grids will brown out and black out with increasing regularity. Supply chains will continue to cough and stutter. Civil unrest will stop being mostly peaceful and become mostly accepted. Governments will respond the only way collapsing empires know how, more control, more printing, more propaganda, more punishment for anyone who refuses to pretend the emperor is clothed. The men who survive and thrive will be the ones who treated 2025 as the last calm year to finish their preparations. The men who treated 2026 to 2030 as the window to disappear into the margins, build fortress balance sheets, lock down food and energy independence, and cultivate tribes of other competent men who share resources instead of ideology. You do not need to predict the future. You only need to prepare for the version that is already baked in. Everything else is noise. And let me give you the exact checklist I personally use and that I give to every man who joins the private community behind Angry's Crypto Academy. This is the no fluff minimum viable escape plan that turns a regular guy into an untouchable sovereign in 36 to 60 months. 1. Financial sovereignty. 25% of net worth in physical gold and silver you can touch with your hands or that sits in allocated vault outside your home country. 25% in Bitcoin, self-custodied, multi-sig if possible, seed phrase split geographically. 25% in cash flowing assets, online business, rental units in cheap cash flow markets, or physical goods arbitrage. 25% in productive land or tools that produce food, energy, or shelter. 0 debt, except possibly a low interest mortgage on income producing property you could rent for positive cash flow if you had to walk away. Second, location sovereignty. Primary residence paid off or payable off in under 5 years. Secondary bolt hole at least 150 miles away, in different climate, different power grid, different political jurisdiction. Passport from at least one country that is not your birth country. Even if you never use it, options are priceless. Ability to be completely off grid for 90 days minimum, 365 days ideal. Third, energy and food sovereignty. Solar array capable of running refrigeration, lights, well pump, Starlink, and charging stations. Minimum 1 year of calorie dense, shelf stable food per adult. On site food production, chickens, aquaponics, orchard, or hunting/fishing rights. Water, well, rainwater catchment or spring, plus 2 independent filtration systems. 4. Health sovereignty. Body fat under 15%. Deadlift 2.5 times body weight, can ruck 12 miles with 50 pounds. Full year supply of any prescription medication you cannot live without, plus the knowledge to source alternatives. Basic dental and trauma skills. You should be able to pull a tooth, suture a laceration, and stabilize a fracture. Relationships with at least 2 medical professionals who will treat you for cash off books when the insurance system collapses. 5. Information sovereignty. All critical documents scanned, encrypted, stored in 3 physical locations plus 1 cloud you control. Offline library of 500 plus gigabytes of survival, medical, mechanical, and farming knowledge. Ham radio license and gear capable of 500-mile communication when cell towers go dark. Daily habit of verifying every claim against primary sources instead of headlines. 6th, social sovereignty. Tribe of 8 to 15 men within a 30-minute drive who train together, share skills, and have explicit mutual aid agreements. 0 reliance on any person who has demonstrated contempt for you in the past. Clear, written boundaries, and the willingness to enforce them without apology. If you have those 6 pillars locked in some form by the end of 2027, you will be in the top 0.1% of prepared men on the planet. You will watch the next decade like a nature documentary while everyone else panics. You will not just survive, you will compound. Your wealth, your health, your skills, your peace, everything will grow while the rest of the world shrinks. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. When the sorting is over, the men who walked away early will not be hiding in bunkers, eating MRES, and waiting for the apocalypse to end. They will be the new aristocracy. Not because they inherited money or went to Ivy League schools, but because they inherited competence, land, freedom, and brotherhood, while everyone else was busy liking tweets and waiting for the government check. The castles will be 40 acres with wells, solar, and a machine shop. Their knights will be the guys who can weld, wire, grow, shoot, and code. Their currency will be Bitcoin, silver, eggs, ammunition, and favors. Their laws will be simple. Don't steal, don't lie, don't be weak. Their entertainment will be bonfires, books, and building things with their hands. And the old world will keep screaming on television about how dangerous and toxic these men are, while quietly begging them to come back and fix the power lines when the next storm hits. That's the future. Not dystopia, not utopia, just the logical endpoint of millions of individual men refusing to die for a civilization that already declared them the enemy. So when your cousin at Christmas dinner calls you paranoid for buying a second freezer and filling it with beef, just smile and pass the potatoes. When your ex boss laughs because you turned down the promotion to move to the mountains, nod and change the subject. When the news tells you that everything is fine and you just need to vote harder, turn it off and go stack another row of firewood. Your silence is your strength. Your competence is your revenge. Your peace is your victory. And one day, years from now, when some kid who grew up in the chaos asks how you made it through with a full belly, a clear mind, and a smile on your face, you'll just hand him a jar of home canned venison, point at the orchard you planted in the 2026, and say, I stopped waiting for permission a long time ago. That kid will grow up in a world built by men who walked away. A world where competence is king again. A world where privacy is normal. A world where men are respected for what they can do, not punished for what they are. A world where peace comes from strength, not from compliance. We are not hoping for that world. We are building it 1 acre, 1 Bitcoin, 1 rep, 1 friendship, 1 decision at a time. And the beautiful thing is the door is still open. Not for a little while longer. The land is still cheap. Bitcoin is still under 6 figures. The cities haven't fully imploded yet. The grid still works most days. The grocery stores still have food most weeks. Use the time. Because when the music finally stops, the men who spent the last calm years preparing will not be looking for chairs and they will already own the building. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you already out? Are you halfway out the door? Or did this video just light the fire under your seat today? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me where you're walking to, what you're building, what you're leaving behind. I read every single one, and the brotherhood grows stronger every time another man says, I'm done renting my life. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.